Hi guys! Now usually on this channel I make videos about the TV shows that I am watching. So my favourite TV shows that are coming up that I am eagerly anticipating. But today I thought that I would do the reverse of that and talk to you about 5 TV shows that I have not watched yet. Now the reason that I thought that I would do this was I just thought that it would be quite interesting to talk about hugely popular, very famous television shows that people are really excited about, that I, as a huge television fan who watches a lot of television and who gets very invested in the shows that she is watching, have not got around to watching yet. Now these shows come from a variety of channels and networks and whatever, and the reasons behind me not watching them vary. You will find that out in the rest of the video, but I felt like this was quite an interesting thing to talk about. So if you want to let me know in the comments down below what some major television shows that other people seem to love and have binge watched and got addicted to that you haven't watched yet, please let me know what they are. So the first show that I want to talk about is probably one of the biggest shows on television at the moment, and is one of the shows that gets talked about constantly on social media, and it's become this huge sort of cultural reference point at the moment, and that is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is one of these shows that I know who all the characters are, I know who most of the actors are, I know generally what has been happening in each season, I know a lot of the huge storylines, a lot of the huge twists and the sort of plot points that people discuss, because it's so huge that it's kind of impossible to avoid. I feel like Game of Thrones is one of these huge shows at the moment that if you didn't start watching it at the time and you're a bit behind, then avoiding spoilers is kind of impossible. If you're someone who's on social media a lot, it's one of these things that you're going to hear Game of Thrones spoilers wherever you go. It's kind of expanded outside of just like the television industry, and it's something that's like a cultural reference point for lots of things. Even in huge sort of political situations, like at the moment I've seen quite a lot of Brexit related posts that reference things that happen in Game of Thrones. So it is this huge sort of cultural reference point, which is, I think, why I'm happy to know exactly what's going on in it, even though I'm not watching it. With a lot of shows, I'm like, oh, I don't want to get spoilers because I'm going to watch it at some point and I don't want to know what's happening. But with Game of Thrones, I'll be 100% honest, I don't know if I'm ever going to actually watch Game of Thrones because I just don't know that it's my cup of tea. In terms of the fantasy elements of it, so the dragons and everything, and in terms of some of the characterizations, so I know they've got a lot of very powerful women characters and whatever, and so from those aspects I definitely think that it would be something that I would enjoy, but I also know that it's just very dark and a lot of very upsetting things happen, and I feel like with a show like that, if it's quite sort of bloody and gory, which I know that Game of Thrones is, there's quite a lot of death and there's quite a lot of gore, and that's really not up my street. It's not something I'm hugely, like, a huge fan of, and I think it's really important to watch shows that aren't all happy and, you know, nice things happening all the time. But I found lately, I think just because the world is in a bit of a mess and everything's really quite upsetting, I've kind of found myself gravitating away from shows that are sort of really dark. So something like Orphan Black, which is one of my favourite shows, I've not finished season 4 because towards the end of the season it was getting so emotionally exhausting and so dark that even though I love it and I think that the acting's incredible, I've kind of veered away from it for the time being. So I don't know, I might watch Game of Thrones eventually, I might not. If you think I'm making a huge mistake by not watching it, let me know in the comments down below. But as I say, it's one of these shows that I haven't watched but I know what's going on in because it's kind of unavoidable. The next show that I want to talk about is another hugely popular show that has been talked about a lot recently, and that is Orange is the New Black. Because the show just premiered its 4th season and it just went up on Netflix a few weeks ago and everyone had been so excited for season 4 finally getting released, it's one that's been kind of talked about even more than usual over the past month or so. And Orange is the New Black is a show that, unlike Game of Thrones, I've never watched an episode of Game of Thrones in my life. I have never sat down to watch it. I have never even really watched many clips of it. I've just seen tiny snippets here and there. But with Orange is the New Black, I've started season 1 3 times. I have got through the first 4 episodes 3 times, and I just really struggled to get into it. Now this is something that upsets me a lot because I feel like Orange is the New Black, that for me as someone who cares a lot about feminist issues and women and the representation of women, I feel like it's a show that I should be watching and a show that's important to watch, but I just really struggled to get into it. I have a theory that I could probably get into pretty much any television show given long enough. There are lots of shows that I've seen snippets of episodes of that I've gone, oh, that's caught my attention. I'll watch a couple episodes and before you know it, I'm addicted and I own all the box sets and, you know, it's a down the rabbit hole situation. But with Orange is the New Black, I just found that I wasn't getting grabbed the way that everyone seemed to be. Everyone was talking about how it was the most addictive thing ever from the word go, from the first episode. They were totally gripped and totally hooked. And as I say, I got 4 episodes in 3 times, and both times was sort of like, and I just didn't go any further. However, as I say, I think that in terms of the diversity in the show and the representation in the show, it is one that I really think is important to watch. So I am going to go back to it and I am going to give it another chance. And I do believe that if I give it long enough, I'll probably get into it and I'll probably start to see what everyone else is seeing. But as of yet, I cannot say that I have really watched Orange is the New Black. The third show that I want to talk about is one that I don't really have any reason for not watching, I just haven't got around to it yet, and that is House of Cards. Now this is a show that I think I will really enjoy. I enjoy shows with kind of like political conspiracy situations going on. I always get a kick out of that type of show. And I like Kevin Spacey, and I think that from the sounds of what I've heard about the show, from all the people who talk so positively about it, I feel like once I watch it, I'll love it. But I just haven't got around to it yet. It's one of these ones that has been on my to watch list since it started, and constantly I'm going, oh, I'll get around to House of Cards eventually, and then something else crops up that I want to watch first, and then something else crops up that I want to watch before it, and it's kind of just been an ongoing thing like that. So House of Cards, unlike the other two, I don't really have a reason for not watching it. It's not been a conscious thing. It's just not come to the top of my to watch list yet. If House of Cards is one of your favourite shows, let me know in the comments down below and I will bump it higher up my to watch list. The fourth show that I want to talk about is one that has actually ended. It's not on TV anymore, but is probably over the past decade or so one of the biggest television phenomenons that there's been, and that is Breaking Bad. Now Breaking Bad is one of these shows that my brother was addicted to, my parents were addicted to, my friends were addicted to, everyone who I spoke to other than like a couple of people were absolutely hooked and said it was the best thing ever and it was the best show they'd ever watched and nothing would compare to it. And I've just never, again, much like House of Cards, it's never reached the top of my to watch list. Even though it might be one of these situations like it was with Lost, where I did that thing where I went, oh, it's probably not as good as everyone's saying that it is. I did that in the first couple of seasons of Lost. I thought, oh, overhyped, it's probably not that great. And then eventually I watched it and I was like, oh, this is my favourite thing ever. So that might happen, I don't know. I feel probably not because of the subject matter of Breaking Bad. I think that's another thing that I find slightly off-putting. I'm not hugely drawn to kind of like drug-related storylines and things, and the thing that makes me want to watch it is the characterisation, because I know from what I've heard that the character progression of Walt and of Jesse, and you know, I figure the rest of the characters too, is really, really impressive to watch, and that's what generally drives me to watch a show, is character and character development and character relationships, more so than plot. So the kind of character side of it makes me think that I eventually will watch Breaking Bad, and I'm sure that I will really appreciate it. But to this point, when it's been kind of up against shows that have subject matter that I'm more interested in, it just hasn't reached top of the list yet. And the fifth show that I want to talk about that I haven't got around to watching yet, and again, it's another one that it's not really a conscious thing, it's not because I don't think I'll like it, I just haven't had the time yet, and that is The Big Bang Theory. Now, The Big Bang Theory is probably one of the biggest comedy shows that has been on for quite a long time. It's one of these shows that has such a huge following, and it reached a point that for a while, like, the actors in the show were the highest paid actors in TV. It was nuts, and it just became this huge phenomenon. Again, one of these things that cultural references crop up from Big Bang Theory in lots of different contexts, and I just haven't got around to it yet. I think I didn't get into it when it first started, and then it became one of these situations where there was so much of it and there's been so many seasons of it that I just sort of look at it and I feel overwhelmed and I think, oh, there's a lot of that to get through. But I do know that a couple of my really close friends really enjoy it and think that it's great, and I trust their taste. And as I say, it's become one of these massive shows that has such highly paid actors, and everyone seems to think is so entertaining that I feel that I do need to give it a shot eventually. Again, if Big Bang Theory is one of your favourite shows, let me know in the comments down below and tell me exactly why you think that I should prioritise it on my to watch list. So that's it for today. That's all I wanted to really share with you, was 5 huge TV shows that I haven't got around to watching yet. Let me know in the comments down below what some of your favourite shows are that you think I should watch, and let me know what some of the huge, major, culturally important television shows that you haven't got around to yet are. I hope that you're having a great week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye! The next show I want to talk about is Arrow. I've wanted to watch Arrow for a long, long time. It's been on my to watch list for ages. I finally got around to it probably about